Function with Purpose Podcast. All things health, wellness, fitness, and education through the physical therapy perspective. I am Dr. Amy Bullock, owner and founder of Fortress Physical Therapy. Fortress PT is here to serve the Charlotte metro area by highlighting the importance of how and why physical therapy should be a part of your health and wellness lifestyle. Here we go. Welcome to Season 9, Episode 4 of the Function with Purpose podcast. Dr. Amy here with you guys today. Thank you for joining in. Hopefully you're listening to this while you're drinking coffee. That is definitely a plus in my books. All right, so getting right to our topic for today on your drive into work or out of work or during lunch, or maybe you're on a road trip. And side note, don't forget that if your podcast app is goofing with you, these podcast episodes are also on the Fortress Physical Therapy YouTube channel. So be sure to subscribe, and I will link the Fortress YouTube channel in the comments of this podcast. So thanks for subscribing. All right, right to it. I did not really know this, especially the statistics to this when I researched it. But back in August 2023, my mom developed vertigo or dizziness after she experienced COVID. My mom got COVID, May, June, July. I think it was around like the first week of August. And, did all the quarantine thing, all that fun spiel. Luckily, now my mom is in her mid-70s. She's 75 as we speak. So thank goodness her symptoms were just mild and she didn't require to be hospitalized or required any medicine of some sort. Full disclosure as well, my mom had all of the vaccines and, 2023, she ended up getting a milder form of COVID. So thank goodness everything was okay. Okay, anywho. So I'll tell you a little story about vertigo. In fact, my mom experienced this after her recovery from COVID. So, mom's experience, she was very, very tired, very lethargic from recovering from COVID and during the process. So, obviously when the body is fighting off sickness, or i.e. the flu in this case, you tend to lay around, sleep, hydrate, and barely move, right? So my mother's case, being in her mid-70s and resting a lot, she slept a lot. And she tends to favor one side when she sleeps. She likes to sleep on her right side. And even before, I guess experiencing COVID, I would catch her like falling asleep and napping on the couch, and she's always like laying on her right side, and the neck is kind of like all smushed up and jacked up a little bit, awkwardly placing pillows more under her right ear, so it really looks like her left ear is like touching her right shoulder or her left shoulder. So kind of like picture that, right? So while she's recovering from COVID, she's constantly in this right-sided side-lying position. So she recovered and everything, and I was on my way home from work, and it was in the afternoon. I think it was on it was on a Wednesday, so I unexpectedly had like a half day of work with patient care, and she calls me while I'm on my way home. She's like, "Oh, I'm kind of dizzy." So I'm thinking, okay, like what's going on? She's like, "Yeah, I just, I noticed this morning when I woke up and turned over quickly to my left side and sat up on the edge of the bed that, like, oh my gosh, the room was spinning. And, it didn't last very long, maybe like a minute or less. And then I was fine, but I'm a little scared. I feel like I might fall. So right then and there, I'm like, oh my gosh, I think she has vertigo, and specifically BPPV. BPPV stands for Benign Paroxysmal Positional Vertigo. So it's a form of dizziness. In fact, when you research this and ask Dr. Google, that kind of in layman's term, this is when the crystals in our inner ear or our balance center get knocked out of place. Yes, it's totally a true thing. We do have these little crystals that are in our canals of our eardrum area that have to be in a certain position in a certain canal. Sometimes they can get knocked out of place, which then in turn, patient experiences vertigo, nystagmus, which means the eyes, when you look at the eyes quickly move or they kind of beat, it looks like. And then, all of like classic dizziness symptoms, the room spinning, feel like you're going to fall, you might feel like sensations of nausea, vomiting, etc. And however, these symptoms usually last less than 60 seconds, and they're commonly occur when there are sudden changes of movements. So in my mom's case, she spent a lot of time on her right side with her basically left ear to her left shoulder when she was recovering from COVID. And anytime she would turn over to the left or sit up, I think, and I firmly believe that is how her crystals in her inner ear got knocked out. So back to my story. She calls me on the way home. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to be home. I'm going to have to test this. But I think I know what it is, and I can easily treat this. So we get home, and she's super anxious. And she's like, oh, what are you going to do? I'm like, well, Mom, we have to sit on the bed, then I have to lay you back, turn your head. I got to make sure and figure out what canal the crystals are in, and then we're going to straight up treat it ASAP as soon as we're in that position. But I have an idea of where it's located. So we did that. And the assessment is called the Dix-Hallpike maneuver, and the treatment is actually termed the Epley maneuver. So as physical therapists, we are taught this in physical therapy school. It is very, very easy to treat, and physical therapists are perfectly capable of treating BPPV. So I knew where it was. It was stuck in the posterior canal type deal, which is a commonplace per research, and we treated it. So basically from Wednesday to like Saturday night. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So 4 days we did 2 treatments. One in the afternoon and then one in the evening. Same thing. Did the Epley maneuver. It's the same treatment. And every time we did it, Mom's like, the dizziness is lessening, and her nystagmus, or her eye shaking, significantly decreased every day. And she's like, well, I don't have much of the symptoms. And it's quite scary at first. However, physical therapists can easily treat this. And I knew right off the bat after she told me, hey, I'm dizzy, I changed positions, usually she gets up in the middle of the night, and she's like, oh, I felt dizzy when she informed me on this Wednesday. So after we did treatments, every night I said, hey, listen, you can't, part of your home exercise program is to not lay down flat or sleep on your sides. You actually have to sleep in a semi-reclined position and try to sleep on your back. Or if you have access to a recliner, you got to sleep in the recliner in a reclined position, because you can easily re-knock those crystals out of place when the goal of the treatment is to push them back where they came from via the Epley maneuver. So, yes, unfortunately, every night she had to endure sleeping on a pillow wedge and stacked up pillows on her back. But, man, 2 treatments a day for 4 consecutive days, back. She's cool. Everything was fine. Easy treatment, right? By the 3rd day, we did a little bit of walking outside, maybe just like a half mile, right? Per her confidence. And much better. Much, much better. But, so, getting back to these statistic things, I was, after we did treatment first day, I'm like, okay, let me look up some articles and see what's up. And there were actually some case studies published. And oh my gosh, what a high percentage of people who experience vertigo, especially BPPV, it is between 20 and 30% of individuals who have had COVID will experience BPPV. That is wild. So wild. So then I kind of thought, I'm like, well, that makes sense, right? Because anytime anyone gets the flu or sickness, you're sleeping, right? And you're just, you're sleeping in whatever position feels comfortable, because sleep is how the body rids and heals from sickness, right? That is part of the healing process. Your body has to rest and build antibodies in order to fight off the virus. So when someone tends to favor a side and they're recovering from a bout of sickness, it would make logical sense, at least from a PT perspective, like, oh, they could easily get BPPV or their crystals get knocked out. So, vertigo after COVID, after looking up some statistics and published research articles, I didn't know that really was a true and high percentage thing. Basically, 25 to 30% or 35% of people will get BPPV. And it's all because of the recovery process from sleeping in a favorite position, right? And then quickly getting up from that position. So you're knocking the crystals out, per se. But please know that if this sounds like you, where, you find yourself in a vertigo or dizziness state that lasts less than 60 seconds, and you usually feel this vertigo or the room spinning or your eyes beating, which is known as a nystagmus. Physical therapists are trained to do this. This is something very basic that we learn in physical therapy school to treat BPPV. So, you don't need to go see a physician and get on medicine, right? Because if you do and they put you on prednisone or an antiviral, an antiviral, you're fighting the virus off. It's not going to fix crystals that are knocked out of your semicircular canals in your ear. So, if it does sound like you, reach out to a local physical therapist. If you're in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, reach out to me at Fortress Physical Therapy. If you're not in the area and you need help, definitely reach out. But this type of vertigo especially can easily be assessed and treated right on the spot by a physical therapist. That's a wrap for today's episode, Function with Purpose podcast. For more information on this episode, please check out the show notes within your podcast app. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, or drop your comments and questions below. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Thanks for the listen. Pursuit, precision, purpose.